We are joining forces to chat about all things metal and the latest kind of news that's happened in the most recent time. We want to figure out a way to have a nuanced conversation about these things because everything has nuance. So, of course, we've got Metal Burb and Drew Fortune and myself, Steve O'G, here to chat all things metal. The name of this endeavor is TBC, but we'll see how we get on. So, top story at the moment, it's kind of dropped today at time of recording. It is, when is it, Tuesday, the 16th of January. Sleep token identities seem to have been revealed in a really extreme way. Who's got the scoop on what's happened here? Burb?
Well, yeah, I've been following it since like it initially put out on Twitter. Basically, it seems like it came on Telegram, and I'm trying to figure out the exact details. A lot of it's a little bit muddy, so bear with me while I try to find more of it online. But I think it was a hater that actually leaked the information from the sleep token basis, so 3. And initially, we were talking about this beforehand that we didn't even really, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't talk about this because it's adding fuel to the fire, right? We don't want to give people incentive that, you know, this is a thing that you can do. You can dox people, right? But everyone is talking about it. This is massive, massive news. Essentially, yeah, I think there needs to be legal action because if you're doxing someone online, especially a band that is anonymous, there needs to be legal repercussions for that.
Do they know? Like, does anyone know where it came from? Is that what we're trying to figure out right now? Because the first time I'd seen anything about it was I got pinged on the Sleep Token Discord. Like, I'm not active in there, but I got the ping for like everyone, and basically Sleep Token were saying that, you know, we're aware that this is happening. And I was like, okay, right. I didn't look too much into it, but then I jumped on Twitter for a moment and seen, you know, everything that was kicking off. I seen some videos about it. Pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, I don't know all the details. I've been kind of steering a bit clear of it, but at the same, I've heard something about birth certs. It's like birth certs don't prove that you're in a band. I don't really understand what the link is here to. Like,
my confusion was that, like, I didn't know why people were annoyed about it instantly because I didn't realize the severity of what had actually happened because, let's be honest, we've all Googled who Sleep Token are at some point. Like, that information isn't that hard to find. I know some people will say, like, you know, oh, well, don't even speak about it. But, like, you know, the band has over 500,000 followers on Instagram alone at this point. Like, people are going to do it. It's not the hardest thing in the world to find out who they are, but the part that I wasn't aware of, which I now am aware of, and is obviously why Sleep Token were, you know, bringing it to the fans' attention, is that people had found birth certificates, and that kind of, like, that's where it's like, you know, like, just why, you know? Because if you go to, like, some of the original videos and stuff, like, where people are finding them, you know, I don't know how much of this is, like, you know, shouldn't be spoken about, but it's just natural for humans to do that. Like, I love this band, I want to know who they are. So I found myself there, guilty as charged. But, like, you see the comments, people are respectful about it. You know, people say, like, you know, this and that about, you know, like, let's just leave it there. You know, this is cool that we can see this person before all the fame, because at this point, they're such a huge band. It's kind of hard to get away from that. But, of course, the people on the extreme ends go to really extreme lengths and make it extremely weird. As myself and Burb have spoken about on the podcast before, with the Sleep Token fans being a bit, you know, a bit mental. But yeah,
I mean, as a Sleep Token fan, I take absolute offense.
No, as am I. But you know where I'm coming
I know what
from
you're saying,
one, you know?
but yeah, it's the larger fan base becomes, the tiny percentage of any fan base that is a little bit kind of overcooked gets to be a large number of actual people as a ratio, and then things can get a bit weird. This is essentially an inevitability, but it's just the way in which this has happened seems a bit extreme. As Drew says, though, like, if you want to, you know, figure out who they are, there are ways to find that out. But it's different if you are actively, like, broadcasting their identities, which you know that they would not want out of their own choice. So out of respect for them, you don't actively go out and do that. But the way someone's gone about whatever they've done seems extreme. What did you find out there, Burb, about the actual thing?
No, I was just going to say what makes it worse is that it was 3's identity, which is leaked, and 3 had to leave the tour for some personal reasons too, right? So out of all this, you know, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes with him, and then for him to delete all of his social media is just like a shit move. And so it really sucks for the band. But then there's another thing that's coinciding with this, where basically they changed the header of their Instagram to say nothing lasts forever. And so there's a little bit of other argument going on that, you know, maybe this is a marketing ploy. My personal stance is that this could be a random coincidence where they could be teasing something, a new era for the band, but then, you know, at the same time, maybe three's information got leaked. Because if you look at 2 and 4's social medias, they're still up, right? So I think 3 is just unfortunately like, you know, getting doxxed by some shithead. But I do think that maybe they could be plotting something like hopefully a new song. That would be crazy.
That would be crazy because it's pretty recent since the Take Me Back to Eden album. I get that they are clearly marketing masters in their own way. This doesn't feel like the way they would do something like that. And the whole Nothing Lasts Forever thing, in their first ever interview, and only one that the band has ever done, obviously we've got Drumeo with 2 now, but they said Nothing Lasts Forever is their lasting thing. That's kind of been a mantra from the beginning. And perhaps that's their way of coping with the inevitability of what's happening with this thing. But yeah, I know that's common for bands these days to like delete their social media right before a big release to get everyone talking. But people are already talking about Sleep Token. They don't need to do something like this to get people chatting about them.
Yeah. Did 3 delete his Instagram? I seen that they deleted all their posts. I seen that the actual band's Instagram has like been wiped and they've changed their header. But did 3 actually, is his Instagram gone?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Because I actually noticed, I did check who they were following because I noticed there was like 2 people now or something. So yeah, he wasn't there. I was like, why are they not following all the members of the band? So that makes sense. So his Instagram's gone.
Yeah, because
as a marketing thing, you know, that doesn't strike me as like a marketing ploy. I hear you on that one for sure. It might be a little creative, but
I'm saying the title is a marketing ploy. The Nothing Lasts Forever, and then deleting their socials, and then 3 just deleting his social media is just a random coincidence too. That's an unfortunate coincidence of timing. Yeah. Because like another thing that is like, you know, they have new masks now, and then, you know, at the Euclid, right? The last image is basically this figure that's holding the vessel mask. Like they're ready to move on from this look into something new. So maybe for 2024, they've been planning this for a while, but then all of a sudden, like, let and behold, 3's information gets leaked, and it's just unfortunate timing. That's just my guess. I'm completely wrong. I could be completely wrong.
No, it's an interesting thread to follow. Yeah, I think it'd be unlikely that they would go to the effort of creating new masks and new visuals and new looks for themselves to do all their live gigs, and then just go like Nothing Lasts Forever and stop everything and quit entirely. It does feel like a new phase is coming anyway, and maybe this new situation has forced their hand into some earlier change of their thing.
Yeah, they're far too big at this point to just disappear. You know, that's just.
I mean, it would be the ultimate Sleep Token move to get this big and just be like, we're done.
Yeah, but also because of the very intentional, you know, marketing stance they've taken from the beginning to be as anonymous as possible, you know, it doesn't strike me as a band that would want to have, not that any band would want this to happen if they're trying to remain anonymous, but to have something like this, maybe they never even anticipated getting to this level where they're like, right, we actually just genuinely wanted to stay anonymous for this, and now that people are like really going deep to try and figure this stuff out, who knows? You know, I don't know. I don't know the people, so you know, who knows what they're like in their personal life? Are they really, you know, against all of that kind of thing? Who knows? I'm sure no one's for having themselves, you know, being doxxed, but it's going to be an interesting couple of months to see what follows. I would have personally thought that new music now probably seems a bit far fetched, considering how much they've been, you know, doing shows and the success of the album. I don't think they could have even anticipated how big the album's been, so they probably have to, you know, let that simmer out a little bit before they go again. But I'm open to it, you know?
Yeah, totally.
It never said like we never want to be known. It just said like our identities are unimportant. It wasn't like that fiery.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just an interesting point that why would they delete all their social media too? But then 2 and 4 still has their social media up. And if it's for security reasons why 3 went off, then why is 2 and 4, like why would they delete their social media pictures too? So it's getting a lot of people thinking. And the one thing too, that's the latest update an hour ago on Twitter, Sleep Token out of nowhere just shared a link to Ascensionism. That's it. No, doesn't say anything, just shares a link to Ascensionism. So it's definitely something with the lyrics like "You make me wish I could disappear" or something.
That's where my brain goes instantly, is those lyrics, is "You make me wish I could disappear," you know, has like a romantic feeling to it. But it's weird because it's like a romanticized situation that is actually like, you know, some idiot just posting shit when they know like the severity. How do you find that information, by the way? Like, how do people get that information? Like, how? Like,
I don't want.
Ooh,
If I do
no.
find out, I don't want to say it online.
yeah, like, I mean, yeah.
Well, here's a
But,
step-by-step guide.
Yeah, here you go.
That's where my brain goes. I'm like, how
Then
the
people will
fuck does
think it was
someone
one
do
of
this,
us that freaking did it. Like, we can't react to that.
Oh man, yeah, but I don't know. Is there much more that like branches out from that topic? I mean, I've not been like too up to date with what's going on because you can just find yourself in these dark rabbit holes of like, this is just all hearsay now at this point. But unless you guys have anything more on the actual discussion, I don't know if I do.
Drew's like, move it along, lads.
Yeah, move it along. Someone got doxxed. Who cares? I'm joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to find the scoop and all this stuff, Twitter is active, man. That's where everything's happening. Trending. Holy shit. Oh wait, it's for you trending, but still. Sleep Token, Metallica, Mia Khalifa.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things trending.
I just don't know how you get through Twitter. Like, Twitter's great for news drops and stuff, but I just can't get through it without like finding people like just the worst videos on the internet. Like, I don't know if my Twitter is just the worst ever, but it's the it's, like,
Totally agree.
I had this discussion on stream the other day. I can't get through Twitter without watching someone being beheaded. Is that just me, or like?
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I've never really used Twitter until recently, and that's the shit I'm being shown. I'm like, how do I
make
not
an app
get that?
because I've never come out of Twitter in a good mood, like ever.
It's disgusting.
Even if I go on and like just for a moment, I have to like close my eyes. Where's the search function? Well, what do I actually want to find out? And then you just get like bombarded with just like the worst video ever.
I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one, because literally last night I saw this video and it all has like laughing emojis. I'm like, okay, this is going to be funny. Ends up a video of someone getting shot, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to see
I saw
this.
something yesterday that honestly makes me feel sick.
It's
I
like
don't
Live Leak.
see it.
Twitter is the new Live Leak with discussion about it. It's like just live discussion of the worst videos on the internet. That's the problem with like when you let the no censorship go so far down the route of like, I can just open up Twitter at any point and just be bombarded with the worst shit.
I know,
It's
right?
horrible. Yeah, so I don't personally use it that much, so it kind of comes at a disadvantage, this being, you know, my job. It's like I can't keep my finger on the pulse too much. I just go off of like the main stories what people tell me on Discord and stuff. So the Sleep Token stuff, I don't stay too up to date with it, and just all of the other drama and stuff. But, you know, it's mainly because anytime I go onto that platform, I'm just like, bro, I didn't want to see this. I didn't sign up for this shit. You know? Monday morning, they ruined.
This is how we can move on to the next point. Speaking of Twitter and things blowing out of proportion like crazy,
Yes.
and I don't expect any of the shit, is the whole Machine Gun Kelly guitar. Oh my god, it's been a crazy week, guys. What's
You mean
with
this
the banana
guitar?
peel?
This guitar?
I don't know. Oh. I don't know.
That looks
I mean,
sweeter than his guitar.
Yeah, no, it sucks.
Well, okay, like for those that are completely out of the loop, which I would be shocked if you're out of the loop on this one because everyone is covering it. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly basically put out a guitar that was controversial. A lot of people saw it in so many angles, and you know, maybe I'm the smaller majority here, but I still interpret it as like a guy in the emo scene that's like glorifying like razor blades and monetizing it. And I'm just like, come on, Schecter, like what are you doing? So that's how I saw it. I didn't expect the tweet to go viral. I didn't expect Machine Gun Kelly to respond to it. Like the fact that Machine Gun Kelly is well aware of who I am. I'm like, what the fuck? And like him and Megan Fox are probably talking to me about me, and others like, fuck that guy.
You're one beef away from knowing Eminem at this point. That's the way I look at it. Like his last beef point was Eminem, and now it's metal. Like, you know, with all due respect to you, Mr. Burb, that's a fall from grace from Machine Gun Kelly. Eminem, like, how does that even happen? Like, how is that his point? Like, he's probably beef with a lot more people, like, in that middle point. But again, I don't keep up with the guy. But yeah, the guitar is pretty, I won't say objectively ugly, because again, the whole art thing, but you know, you look at it and it's a bit of an eyesore. But
yeah.
I guess, Steve, thoughts on the look of the guitar? Let's start with the look of it first, right? Let's just talk about the look before we go into the layers of it.
Okay. Well, in terms of the look of it, I didn't immediately dig it, because it sort of looks, it reminds me of what guitars were made like decades and decades ago, when you didn't have the finesse of curved tooling to make a nice sexy looking guitar. Like, it's that rectangular look looks more like an old bluegrassy band, I don't know.
It's a toaster with strings, Steve, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
you know,
I didn't think
that's
it
where we're
looks
going.
great. I can't imagine anyone's going, oh my god, I cannot wait to go and play my gig with an MGK signature rectangular guitar, like just generally.
How do you sit with that? Like, as well, I'm trying to imagine how that like perks onto you, because that curve is what kind of allows it to kind of maybe sit in the the inner part of your. I'm trying to not say groin here, but
cutaway for playing on the higher frets too. It literally stops like 22, and you can't even. So you can only play power chords on that thing, and I guess that's what the pop punk stuff is meant for. But
yeah.
Like I know I don't think it looks that great in terms of the contextual shape of it being like a razor blade thing. I was thinking about this, and if like Kiss came out with a guitar shaped like a razor blade thing, I'd be like, whatever. If it was Iron Maiden or like Judas Priest, I'm like, okay, they're trying to be like badass with a blade looking guitar thing. I think it's because he's in the sort of emo rock world, and that us more elderly folks from emo back in the day, we understand more of the context that was very synonymous with the kind of depression and self-harm thing, which is why I think my immediate thought was similar. Like, that's a little bit on the nose for the kind of scene and the kind of music in terms of a design. That seems a bit of an odd take. And his backing up of it, well, it's art. Like, okay, I don't know.
Well, if it's art, then it's how I interpret it, and I'm not the only one. Hence why the tweet went viral and it got a lot of likes, because other people were sharing a lot of the same thoughts. If you go to their Instagram post, a lot of people said the same thing, like for Schechter, and a lot of people were tweeting the same thing too. But it's exactly like that. Like Dimebag Daryl and stuff had razors, and there was even like the razor telephone back in the day, right? So it's all like, razors are like the cool looking sharp edge design. I think it's just like the whole emo thing, and then I just saw it as like, oh man, they're really trying to monetize the emo thing. There was really good rebuttals to me, because this whole thing created a really good conversation. There's no right or wrong about this at all, but there was like that one good rebuttal about it. Bring Me the Horizon had a t-shirt with a razor blade with blood on it, and I'm like, how about this? I'm like, you know what? I think that's actually a pretty distasteful shirt. Like, if back in the day, if I had a voice, I'd probably say the same thing. It's just like, because like maybe there's a bigger conversation to be had with the emo scene, is like, maybe for a long time now, just maybe, it's been romanticizing self-harm and depression a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, it's cathartic for people to feel not alone in this, but maybe at the same time, it's maybe romanticizing a little bit, where just like, oh, okay, now I can, I'm not feeling good, and now I know about this angle of how to, I'm not the only one that can hurt myself, so I can do it too, kind of thing. I don't know. It's just like, it's a touchy subject, but it's definitely a conversation that we had. Yeah,
like when the way I actually found out about it, I think your Instagram story, Burb, I think you posted that, like, obviously, the whole situation was going down. And when I first seen it, like, my honest thoughts were that, like, and again, I'm not someone who has much, like, ties to the, punk emo scene. So I don't fully understand the full history of it. I haven't got a mad grasp on it. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know everything about it or anything like that. And doing a bit of research after everything unfolds, I understand a little bit more. But when I did first see it, I did think you were reaching, which I know a lot of people did, send your way. And, that's okay. You can disagree with people and, still be friends with them. But I was just like, I just thought you were reaching based on what I'd seen. Because I looked at the guitar, like, for me, someone who doesn't fully understand the context of, why people were offended about it in the first place, because I've since listened to some other people's opinions, and I can side with them to a certain extent. But I did look at it initially. I seen the guitar and I just looked at it and I was like, okay, yeah, like, it's not the best looking guitar. It's unique, to say the least. If you're looking for like a collector's item unique guitar and you like MGK, this is perfect for you. But I thought the razor blade, I seen the tweet and I was like, that's a bit of a reach. But in saying that, I still personally think it's a bit of a reach, and I think Twitter, partly, what we've already discussed, a lot of that stuff does just annoy me about Twitter as well, whether it be people being murdered and all of that lovely stuff you're greeted with all the time on Twitter, or just people who, will take something, I won't say out of context, because obviously I've seen all the different arguments about like why there is context, because he's spoken about it before and he gave his reason as it being like for him shaving his face. Yada, yada, yada. But just my personal opinion was that it was a reach at first. Watched a lot of people's other videos because I was like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm sitting on the fence here. I don't care that much about it, but I did originally think it was like a bit far-fetched, and not just from your own opinion. I've seen a lot of people, like just anyone who was kind of disagreeing with it. I was like, okay, we're going in a weird route here if someone can't even make a guitar. But like I said, not fully understanding the emo pop punk scene and why that might be, disrespectful or just bad taste. started to make sense to me. So I sit quite neutral on the topic, which is just such a boring take. But initially, I was like, this is a reach. Then learn a little bit more about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, right, I see. But I'm still a little bit on the fence about it. So yeah,
Totally.
that's my take.
And I'm not like, oh, cancel this guitar, like I'm losing sleep over this guitar. I'm mind blown that this blew up. But then it makes me kind of wonder, like, maybe this created a whole conversation about the whole emo scene a little bit too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think also, like, when
context
you
is important.
Yeah.
As with most things, context is important. And
Totally.
without the context of, you know, how prevalent in the emo scene years ago this was a whole thing, then you would be like, whatever, it's a razor blade guitar, who fucking cares? But it's because of, you know, his interest, you know, songs about emo girls and being an emo rock. It's like, oh, that makes it feel a little bit on the nose and quite a choice. But to the larger point, Ronnie Radke had a pretty fair point. It's like, well, if I'm making music videos where I'm like murdering people and that's okay, it's like, well, yeah, okay, we can't assume that anything will then be taken as read, that people will now go and buy razor blades because they saw this razor blade guitar. But it's because of context is important, the intention and interpretation of art. Everyone's going to have their own different one. And I guess you could make the argument no one's seeing the guitar and going like, all right, I'm going to go buy razor blades. But I think, yeah, it's the context
know, right?
and our own experience in our past, based on our own history with the music and the scene, whatever that was, will influence how we perceive something. And it's fair enough in everyone's direction what their immediate reactions are. How we carry on the conversation is where we get the kind of respect and rest. And respect to Burb as well. It's not like he went double down. It's like, no, F you, you're wrong. This is totally what it is. Even your recap video, you're going like, and you know what? They made some really good points. And actually, you know, it's an interesting discussion and a conversation point. That's the whole point.
Daddy Steve over here. Just summing it up, eh? You're
Like,
spot
why are
on.
you
Like,
calling
you
him
summed it up.
Daddy Steve?
Oh yeah. Inside joke.
What happened in London, guys?
Yeah. Well, you're just gonna have to put up with it now, Steve. It's stuck. It's unfortunate.
It's stuck, man. It's stuck.
Yeah.
You
used to be
used
Mr. Steve, but now it's Daddy Steve, so you've upgraded. So there you go.
Man, well, the thing is, this segues into the next talking point, but basically to continue on with the drama, like this is all Twitter. Twitter is not the real world, right? You know, after I made those tweets about the guitar, I walked my dog, I went outside, and then I saw MGK reply back to me. I'm like, what the fuck? Right? And then all of a sudden, like Ronnie Radke retweeted it. But then what happened was basically this band, I'm going to say their name wrong, so I need to pull it up. But basically Ronnie Radke got into a fight with like this death metal hardcore adjacent band over the guitar. It basically said they're going to beat each other up because it all started from the guitar, but then all this drama ensued. Holy crap.
What?
You guys are not, dude. Okay.
I'm
know,
slightly aware
dress,
of all
right?
this. There was so much shit happening over the last week that I just don't care. Like, you know, obviously it's fun conversation points when there's artists involved that we, you know, care about or we want to listen to or we like their projects, yada, yada, yada. And there's some people that are just constantly involved in it. And I'm like, I can't keep up with this shit. You know what I mean? Like, if people want to argue and they want to have their little spats back and forth, it's like, do you? But that's, again, it's partly the reason as to why Twitter, just for so many reasons, it's like, I know you can curate the kind of contents that you see, but for the most part, Twitter just find a way to just like force this negativity down my throat. And I'm all for it. Everyone loves a bit of a drama, you know, everyone loves it all. You know, I know Steve and Bert, I know you love a bit of drama. I love a bit of drama myself, you know, I'm not going to lie. But it's just, it never ends, and that's the problem. And I think a lot of people do get caught up in that as well. Like, I've seen some good points about the whole MGK thing. I know we're kind of like, you know, going back and forth between 2 points at the moment, but it's all tied in this Twitter sphere of like, there's so much shit happening in the world right now, and we've all decided to just focus on a fucking guitar that isn't necessarily the most attractive guitar in the world. I know there's other things tied to it, but at the end of the day, it's like, geez, if this is all we have to worry about, I think we're all in a pretty decent spot. You know, there's probably other things we could direct our attention to in the world. You know, there's probably a few things I can name, but it's just like, that's where my brain starts to get a little bit, everyone shut the fuck up. You know, I'm like, stop talking about this nonsense. It's just so much noise, you know, and nothing's ever going to be achieved by it. It's just like, this is my opinion. Well, this is my opinion. Well, my opinion about your opinion is this. And then it's just like someone else. It's just like, So yeah, that's my opinion on the internet as a whole. So there you go. I just had a proper breakdown there. But
I mean, Twitter is exclusively feels like you must only tweet something that you're willing to die on a hill for. And it's like we don't have to have that level of conviction about everything in the world. Like,
and
I know,
there's so
I know.
much. Yeah, there's so much that's lost in typing something. Like there's someone if Burb was to have like a nuanced take and he says it on the microphone, and even through video, it's hard to get the full grasp of the context and the nuance to what he's saying. But in person, it's very easy to kind of gauge where someone's going with something. But online, through like X amount of characters, pardon the pun, but I don't know how many characters it is these days, like what, 160 or something, or is there a limit anymore? I don't know. You have to like make your very, like you said, Steve, your point that is your, you know, die on a hill point in X amount of characters. You know, it's just, it's never going to have everyone happy all the time. And you can just get down this very dark rabbit hole of just constantly being in this like feedback loop of negativity, which I try to avoid at all costs, you know?
Fair.
Yeah.
Burb, what did you find out about this band you were looking at?
Well, no, you're spot on about like feeding into the drama, because like after the whole guitar thing, I didn't tweet anymore. I didn't tweet back at Ronnie. I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want to feed into this. But the thing was, like, I knew people were making videos on it and stuff. I'm like, okay, I need to have a defense. But yeah, the whole thing with how it all started, like, speaking of like trying not to feed into the whole negative trauma, but like it's it's ridiculous what happened. Basically, someone was talking about the guitar, saying, if I see anyone with this guitar, I will beat them with it. Ronnie retweeted it. Ronnie retweeted by saying, I'll pull up to your show and hand it to you and fuck your bitch ass up most. You deathcore metal guys are soft as shit. Take that tough guy shit somewhere else, you
Bring
punk bitch.
influencer boxing to the metal scene. I want to see people fight each other. I'm sick of this bullshit. Like, no one's going to do shit. Just jump in a fucking ring and fight and get it over
No one
with.
was saying. Sure. Here's the thing. It's like if you take a stand-up comedian who tells a joke on stage with the nuance of the performance, and he's like, listen, if I saw you with that guitar, I'd beat you with it. It's like that is different from if it's written in text verbatim. Then it sounds like I'm going to beat you with this guitar, which is probably not how it was delivered from his brain, right? So there's none of the personal humanity nuance. So people will go, "You're going to do what?" Like.
And he's sitting in his bedroom on Twitter, like, it's not real life, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing actually going to happen. It's like when these boxers or like fighters, like, you know, oh, when I beat you, you're going to give me your whole purse. And it's like, oh yeah, like, let's do it. And like, that's never happening, you know, that's not going to happen. It's all, you know, building each other's brands. It's building hype. I know this isn't necessarily the same thing, but honestly, I just want to start seeing people fight. Like, is that too much to ask for? Like, maybe we should just park this podcast off and start working on some kind of like metal scene
UFC
promotion.
metal.
Bro, yeah, UFC.
Fuck yeah, we're onto something, man. Like, that's
Add to the story though, it seemed like something might actually happen. So like, Ronnie, I'll fight all for you by myself and you'll fucking die. Like, they were going at it, right, for a long time. And then they were leaking each other's DMs. And basically, I think this is only my guess, okay? Just a guess, but one of the DMs that they leaked basically called out, or the band. Hold up, if I can say the band name here, because a lot of people might not know who I'm talking about. But the band is called Sangui Sugabog. But basically, they leaked one of the one of the DMs was the dude's a big guy too. It'd been an interesting fight. He's like a big dude, the vocalist, and then against Ronnie. But yeah, he basically tweeted out at Ronnie, calling him an alleged. I don't know if
I see. I know.
R-A-P-I-S-T.
Yeah.
Or he didn't even say alleged. He just said R-A-P-I-S-T. And I think the legal repercussions of that, if you're not saying alleged, this is only a guess, then Ronnie can do some legal action. So I think what happened was the band Sangui Sugabog basically deleted every single tweet that happened from like the past 3 days or so. And so it's completely gone now.
Yeah, that's an L.
It's not completely gone. I'm sure Twitter has that somewhere on a database, and if a government says, show me the files, they'll have to.
Yeah, that's like what you were saying, Steve. It's like on Twitter, it's like you kind of have to die on the hill of what you say. So, like, either prepare it and be prepared to die on it, or just don't say it at all, you know? Like, anyway, yeah.
Jesus. But you know who I'd love to see in a ring, if there is ever like a metal UFC? Alex Terrible. He'd mess some people up, wouldn't he?
Oh my God, are we
going? We're just going from. It's just like the Avengers of people who are going to be cancelled or have been cancelled at this point. Like, what are we doing? Like, Yeah, I mean, Alex. I mean, I've seen clips of him. He's definitely, you know, he's keen. He's passionate about what he's doing. I personally don't. I see again. This is kind of. This is and you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, because as people who are involved in the space and just the internet in general, you know what I mean? We're deeply invested in it. There's like a very fine line between wanting to stay on top of everything and also not wanting your head to explode, because I'm constantly told by everyone that this person is the worst person on earth, you know, Ronnie Radke, Alex. From my understanding of the guys, I just follow them on a very surface level where it's like, you know, I think they're fun. Like, from what I can see, I like their music. You know, as people, they seem like good human beings. But it's the noise of, like, you know, say Discord, for example, or just other platforms where you're getting this fed information from people that know all of the nuance to these people and they know the deep, dark secrets and stuff. So you're kind of battling this, like, well, my opinion of the person in the first place is X. But on the Y side of it, you're getting fed this information that I'm not going to go into validating whether or not it's true or not, but I can only assume that these people wouldn't just make this up. But that's where it's that noise where I just, like, you kind of have to decide, right, I either hate everyone because you'll always find something to dig up on someone, or you just take the people for the value of which you've based your opinions on. You know, like, when I see someone, I like them, I've made my opinion on this person, that's it, you know. And if they do something that's kind of, again, I know there's probably a lot of different arguments in that where, like, if there's, like, you know, evidence against this, yada, yada, yada. But there's just, the point is just, it's so much noise. And it can get to the point where if you stay so on top of it and it's all tied into this Twitter thing, it just gets too much, you know? I don't know what you guys think of that. Are you following where I'm going with that one?
Yeah, I follow it, and it's so much noise, and I've been following the noise too. And yeah. Alex Terrible got into it where he actually wanted to stick up for Ronnie and said, if anyone fights Ronnie, like, you're going to have to fight me too, kind of thing. He put that on his Instagram story. So he literally got involved. Yeah, you made a good point though, Burb, about the Falling in Reverse possibly dropping new music soon, which would line the thing. Up. Yeah. Ronnie is not an idiot. So as many haters that he has, he knows exactly what he's doing. He plays arena shows, right? He's one of the biggest names in the scene. I think he is definitely kind of promoting a song that could be coming out pretty soon. And just like Sleep Token, it just, like, comes out of nowhere. He just, like, drops a song and then it just ends up on the charts. Yeah. Yeah. Like, just objectively, whatever people's opinions are about it. Like, my dad will always come to me and be like, when's the next Falling in Reverse song? Like, he really likes Falling in Reverse, which is hilarious. Like, it's the one band that he's, like, really clicked with, that, like, he's heard from my videos, or, like, I may have shown him back in the day. So it's like, they're like, he to your point, he's like, the band's huge, you know what I mean? Like, he as a personality is huge. You don't have to agree with everything he says. Again, there's so much, like, allegations against him that are, like, you know, horrific stuff that I've seen, but it's just kind of like, you know, I'm sure if you dig deep enough on anyone, it's going to get to the point where you can find a lot. Now, again, I'm speaking from someone who hasn't done all that digging, and I don't like to get involved in the noise just for my own sanity. So, again, that could...
I am very similar. I only know any of this stuff because it gets to a point where someone's made a YouTube video about it and it ends up on my homepage. I'm like, wait, Alex Tellerville's what? And I'm like, out of curiosity, I'm looking at it. But like, I'm not actively looking for... I actually don't really like drama. I think drama is like whatever. I care about the music. That's why I'm here. Yeah. But then when things bubble up to that, I'm like, well, it begs interesting conversations, especially about this. It's like, is there a point at which you're like, well, I can't listen to that music anymore based on an allegation of something?
And it's like how am I going to look if I react to this, and if I check this out, how am I going to look to other people? Because all I give a fuck about is if the music is good or not. But then you have to be like, right, well, let's screen this person and be like, is this person, you know, good enough for me to... Is he a good enough person outside of the music for me to check it out? And it's like, I don't have the time to do all of this research at the same time. So it's...
No, you don't necessarily have the context to begin with, or like the proof of evidence of any accusations, whatever it is. So like, there has to be a world in which you could react to some music for some band, for example, who has done something shady you don't even know about. It doesn't mean that you're somehow on the chopping block. If you don't know about it, like, that sounds insane to me, that you would be in any way be like, you know, attacked in comments and the rest. Like, because you cannot do all of the investigations of all the people in the world in advance of doing anything. All you can do is your best with your intentions and your own knowledge, and that's kind of it, right? Once, if there is anything that's of interest, that's proven, or like, then yeah, adjust accordingly. But also, there isn't like a black or white, well, this happened, therefore this forever. I think that's balance as well.
Yeah, it's just like politics kind of, in a weird way, always trying to find its way back into things that we enjoy, and it just gets to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hear it. Leave it alone. Like, it's just, and then you're kind of in that your responsible position where it's like, okay, well, maybe I should look into it, and it just gets to this point where your brain's like two different things. It's like the devil and the angel, like, you know, go check this out, but also, you know, this could be like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Human nature is a bitch.
First world problems, eh? First world problems.
Pretty much, I know.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I know there's a lot of drama around, like, Alex. I won't even say exclusively right now. It just seems to be always around him. I don't think the language barrier helps him either. He obviously isn't fully, you know, he hasn't got the English language down. I've seen some of his posts that I'm like, oh, you could have worded that a little bit better. You know,
Yeah.
and but again, that's kind of the surface of what I get into. I don't look too far down things. It's just hearsay from other people saying he's X, he's Y, and I'm like, okay, right, look, that is terrible if he is that. But it's that constant battle and that back and forth of, do I just take him from face value for what I've kind of known him for all this time, or do I start to listen to all this noise and be like, okay, well, now he's banned. I can't do it anymore, you know? It's that struggle.
Another thing that face value is the questionable tattoo that he had.
Yeah.
And basically, like, it's been removed, but also starts the conversation, like, can't people be reformed too? Like, how do we know for sure that that past is for sure in the past too? So,
yeah, just for the context, I guess it's, Steve, are you aware of the tattoo that he has?
I was just about to, say, the only reason I'd find out about anything that's going on with Alex Terrible is because of, I think it's Rockfeed, the YouTube channel.
Right.
It said something about, like, he was accused of being a Nazi and having a Nazi-related tattoo, and he had Alex Terrible on the video to like, you know, give a statement and essentially defend himself. And I watched that, and he seemed pretty genuine and compelling. He's like, yeah, I was young, you know, dumb and idiot back then. I was doing this with the wrong crowd and the rest, and that's now covered up. And, like, obviously that was dumb. I'm learning and I'm going. To Burb's point, can people, you know, reform? Absolutely. I don't want to live in a universe where it's like, oh, you made a mistake, you're damned for all eternity. We're such malleable people. We can learn, and if you don't have the information at the time of what is, you know, a morally more useful way to live with your fellow humans, then you might only have a limited ability to understand what you should do in the pecking order of the culture or the surroundings of friends you have. You can't condemn someone for that. It'd be like saying, oh, this person's stealing from a bunch of people. Well, he was raised in poverty. Like, what else is he? Like, it's a completely different context to your lifestyle in Beverly Hills, whatever it is. Like, you have to understand context and nuance and allow people a fair shake. And to Burb's point, you'll never know if he's fully reformed. Who knows? But I'd like to live in a world where we try and give people the benefit of the doubt and give them the scope and the ability to try and, you know, improve and learn new things and adapt in a way that is intelligent as well as respectful and caring.
For sure. Agreed.
Steve, I know you talk about music a lot, but damn, maybe you could be a good voice in centering around this drama. You could be the mediator here.
Let's go, Steve. Steve referee for the fights. Steve commentator for the fights that we're going to arrange. We're going to arrange this.
Yeah, I would not be in the ring. I would snap like a twig. I'll be on the side.
I want to hear Steve
commentate.
Let's go. And Steve, before the fight starts, it's what's the thing you say at the start of the videos? And go. Oh wow, we need to do this, man. There's so many fights to make as well. Like, the fights are making themselves. We are in the perfect position as a promoter at this point. The fights are already there. We just need to make them.
Yeah, we'll have to do an opening fight as well. It's going to be you versus Burb. I'm looking forward to that one. Burb, you've seen him punch drunk at 3 a.m. in the morning. He's pretty feisty.
You can be feisty, yeah.
Well, at the same time, I'm going to call different weight classes, right? Can I get someone of my own weight? You know, we need someone a little bit on the smaller end of the spectrum here. I would probably be fighting, what am I, 135-ish or something? Oh, Steve, you're a good man. I know you're commentating. We can't do you. We'll figure that out at a later date. But yeah, I'll get involved. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
You're going to go down the Logan Paul YouTuber route. Is that his name?
Can I fight on my own promotion, though? Is that not a bit like a conflict of interest? I don't think I can. I need to pick a side here, and I'd rather be on the promotion end of it. You know, I think there's probably going to be more money to be made there. So yeah, we're gonna figure it out, lads. All right. let's not spoil too much on the podcast. You know, we don't want people stealing our idea. But Burb, you have "Fit for a King" as a conversation point. I'm assuming you mean their return with their latest track, which I can't remember the name of.
Well, yeah, I think the next talking point. Ooh, actually, this is something I'd like to talk about. But basically, Fit for a King, yeah, they dropped a new song, but us as reaction channels who work with copyright, one of the labels that I do not have a relationship with, and I don't know anyone that does, is Solid State Records, and Fit for a King is on Solid State Records, and it's a big bummer. Same with Silent Planet, same with the Devil Wears Prada, Norma Jean. Solid State's a great label, but frig, man, I made a post this year basically saying I'm done, being nice to labels. Like I know the value that I bring here to the music community, and this is how I literally put a roof over my head, and I want to work alongside these labels. And if they're not willing to work, then I'm going to have to edit accordingly or just stop featuring the band. So I'm having a little bit of a dilemma with Fit for a King's newest song. Have you guys checked it out yet, or?
I've heard it, yeah. It was my first time hearing anything by Fit for a King. Steve, you haven't heard anything
I've not
by
heard
them?
If I have, it would have been a couple of years ago because the name rings a bell, but it definitely didn't sit with me. I didn't go like, oh, I'm going to check out more of this. But maybe my taste has changed over time.
Yeah. I mean, we can touch on I've got very few points on the actual song itself, but we can bounce back to the the label talk, because that's a fun conversation point, because I'm currently in that middle ground of trying to figure stuff out as well. But the name is Keeping Secrets. It has it has 250,000 plays since it's been released on Spotify. So it's doing pretty well.
What, 1 million plays on Spotify?
No, quarter of a million. Still impressive, yeah. But yeah, no, so this is a band that I had always heard about. I just never gotten around to actually checking them out. And I was pretty disappointed by the single. Not that I had disappointed isn't the right word.
Burb, have you recorded a reaction or not, Burb?
Yeah, I filmed it last night, and I did the same thing where I'm doing breaks in between. But I do agree with Drew that I wouldn't say that I'm disappointed because I'm familiar with the band, but it didn't wow me.
Yeah, see, I can't even really say disappointment because I had no expectations going in, but I was kind of like, I'd heard about this band for so long, and they were definitely on the list at some point. And look, they sound great. Like, it sounded really good. It was produced really well. There was a great chorus, but it really, when I look at like bands that are pushing the envelope a little bit in the metalcore space at the moment, like we've heard some big metalcore albums this year that have just kind of like taken so many different influences and funneled it into the metalcore sound that we all kind of know. This did just feel like it was that. It feel like they've stripped back all of the, again, I don't know what their older stuff was like, but if we're taking examples from other bands in the scene, it just felt very bare bones as a metalcore track to me. It just didn't really feel like there was much that would say, oh, this is Fit for a King, this makes them stand out compared to the other bands I've heard. And chorus was good. I did like it. I think I gave it like a 7. Again, first listen, do what you want with that rating. But I just felt like it was a good song, but I was like, maybe I'll go back to it at some point. So I was a little bit disappointed, I guess, based on the fact that I'd never heard them before. I was maybe hoping for a little bit more. But, sound like a solid band overall. I should probably go and check out their discography, because a lot of people have always said they are a great band, but maybe just this single wasn't the best.
I will tell you, Drew, I don't think the band is for you, because they're a pretty safe metalcore band. Like, that's why, like, it's kind of hard to gauge comments sometimes, because comments can really hype up certain songs, and then when you listen to it, like, oh yeah, this, I see why a lot of people might like it, but not for me. Like, it really feels like by the books metalcore, and it is disappointing for me, I guess, because what they did, Fit for a King did something kind of different, which was go on r/metalcore on Reddit and basically ask the fans, what would you like to see on the new Fit for a King record? So basically they got a lot of feedback, and it's questionable. Like, is that a good thing to do? Shouldn't art just be like, you create the art that you want to create, or do you want to appeal to your fans? But the reason why they're doing this is because they've gotten a lot of negative reception on their past 2 albums. So now they're trying to rethink some things, and then so this is like their new song, and they're really working with fans. So like that's where there was some hype. I'm seeing a lot of comments, first song of the year besides Bring Me the Horizon. And then I listened to it, and I'm just like, yeah, it sounds like Fit for a King.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, it just sounds like a good chorus, good clean, same thing. But just the ideas in the song are just been done for like the past like 15 years really in this in metalcore.
And the thing is as well is like, you guys have been listening to this type of music a lot longer than me, and the fact that I've only really been kind of following metalcore for the past like 2 years, I think, like pretty religiously, the fact that this already sounds quite stale to me after 2 years is quite telling, in my opinion. Like, I've only, like, you know, because naturally, if you've been listening for 10 years, you've heard every, you know, development along the way. Whereas I've obviously heard some of the older records where I can say, okay, I can hear this sound influence this sound, and so on and so forth, and how it's, you know, the bands like Loathe that are really like pushing the envelope and really, you know, trying new creative things. But this was just like another one of those albums or those tracks that I really listened to, and I was like, you know what? As good as it sounds, like overall, like, you know, the production and everything, it's sonically it sounded good, but just like musically, I felt like I knew once I heard the first verse and the chorus, I knew what the rest of the song was going to be from that point onwards. You know, there was nothing that really spurred me on to want to go back to it, you know?
I don't know this band at all, or what they sound like, but
yeah,
I'm fascinated with you saying that they canvassed their community, basically saying what you want to hear on the next record. To your point, is that like art? I would still say, yeah, it is. Art's kind of anything you want it to be. Is it your preferred art? Perhaps not. It's not my preferred art. I like the idea of the members of the group are the ones creating the music, or an individual member, what it is. If you kind of have an amorphous blob of people making some music, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle and less inventive and daring and creative, is my take on it. But still, to do that is an artistic choice, to be like crowdsourcing their direction. I think it's sort of in a weird way reminds me of like Architects' latest single, where like, oh, this is what you want, we think, and it's, you know, they've ended up doing metalcore by numbers, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I actually, I kind of,
right?
yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
sorry, bro. I do respect that they actually went out of their way, because let's like, a lot of the bands will take feedback from albums that have done well in the past, and they'll say, right, well, this has done well. Let's, so in a way, they are taking that inspiration from how successful something is for them. So I respect them just going directly to the people that are deciding anyway. You know, that's probably where, I know obviously the whole, you know, artistic approach, you know, there's a strong argument for it there, where, you know, it should just be whatever you feel like. And but like, let's be real, like anything that, you know, has monetary gain, people are going to say, well, what has done well for us in the past, and what do people like, and, you know, what do we enjoy making as well. There obviously has to be that element of it if they still enjoy doing it. But, you know, I respect them going to Reddit and, you know, asking directly, because it's quite a vulnerable thing, I would say, because it kind of almost suggests that they are, like Burb said, if their last two albums haven't performed the best, or they just haven't been, you know, I guess critically acclaimed by the fans as their better albums, then to me that's a pretty, you know, respectable move to go directly to Reddit, which can be, you know, you guys know what Reddit can be like. It can be pretty brutal. So
not as
to
bad
go
as
directly,
Twitter, but yeah, tough
yeah,
crap.
yeah. But like, you know, they're to go directly to the lion's den, I guess, or one of the lion's dens.
You can't have opinions on Reddit though.
Right.
Basically, if you have an unpopular opinion, you get vote down, like you get downvoted to the bottom.
And you just get
That's the problem with
down.
Reddit.
Yeah. Okay.
So
right.
So you just have to share the same point as everyone else. That's the problem with Reddit. But Twitter, everyone has an opinion. So it's a little bit different for sure.
Yeah. So Reddit's more of like an echo chamber. I'm not too versed in all the platforms, but Reddit sounds more like an echo chamber, because once one person enjoys something, it kind of gets pushed up, and everything else is like, no, goodbye.
Yep, it totally is.
Okay, right, okay, that's fair enough. No, I, like, again, respect to the band. I look forward to listen to them, you know, more music. I'll still check out their new singles, you know, hoping that I'll enjoy them more than the Keeping Secrets one. But yeah, I respect them going to Reddit. That's pretty ballsy in my opinion. Maybe didn't work out for this single, but who knows what their album, I guess, that's going to be following. We'll have to say about that. We'll see over time.
Yeah, and I need to figure out what's going on with Solid State Records. Like
That
the
was another
whole
thing.
label, the whole label thing. So Drew, Steve, what's going on with labels with you guys? How are you dealing with it?
I'm coming from a very neutral standpoint at the moment, where I'm working with some that are really helpful. I think I don't want to say the industry, because I'm not that deeply versed in the actual, like, I don't fully understand the label side of things, and I don't think they fully understand us, but we're definitely getting a lot closer to, you know, a middle ground where we both kind of understand each other. Like the corporate world and anything, things take so long to get, like, I'm on my phone and I'm just like, right, as soon as an email comes in, I respond to it. But like in the corporate world, there's so much back and forth, waiting like days for stuff to come back. So I'm working towards just trying to build as many relationships as possible, just so everyone wins. You know, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know where Steve is at the moment, but I guess Steve, let us know.
As with many things, it's quite nuanced, I think.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely see the argument that the reaction channel world is kind of like the modern version of what you'd have like rock magazines do in the past, where people would, you'd send them your music to review, and then they would basically sell their magazines on the basis of talking about the content of the music. And the band or the labels aren't saying, I want 20 pence from every magazine you sell because it's our content you're talking about, and therefore you don't get to sell your magazine. So you could be like, okay, it's kind of modern version of that sort of world. But it's the actual song, it's the actual music, it's the actual music video that is featured. Now, we are talking over it a lot of the time. So it's not like you can rip the song directly and just steal that in a Napster old school kind of way. So it is different. It's commentary, it's critique, review, which is a fair use kind of grounds. So I absolutely see that, of course. But it's so kind of nuanced and inobvious at the moment with legalities and the rest that they're sort of within their right to be like, no, I'm taking the AdSense. And what we're looking at is, because of the worth and value that you folks have been doing for a long time, and I've been doing to some degree as well, of introducing bands to new people. Not just saying like, hey, there's a new song, check it out, I like it, but adding extra value, adding additional bits of context and things, and musicianship and all the rest that we can do, is contributing and helping the artist to be not just heard by more people, but understood better by more people, which a label should be invested in. So you can definitely see a world in which there is a mutually beneficial relationship where, and that's where I think labels that you'd work with to go, you know what, we appreciate what you're doing to the extent, because we think you're doing it fairly, that we'd like to, as a gift, allow you to take the AdSense on, even though it's our original content that you're basing your content on. It's sort of like a relationship enabling thing that they have kind of the prerogative to be like, nah. So the more we can build great relationships, that should benefit everyone, I think. But it's a very new world. I don't think labels completely understand, or not all of them clearly, certainly the publishers don't, the value of this new form of content and promotion and all that sort of thing. So we're very much still at the front of a crest of a wave here, and it's, we'll end up having to fight the battles that future channels will be like, thanks for that.
For sure.
But yeah, it's complicated.
I do want to say one thing, that's there is a movement happening. Your point is totally valid. I just think that there is like the trends of music is kind of working with influencers and content creators, because I think the news publication stuff is dying out. That Johnny from the band Carcosa, so he's a content creator in like the deathcore world, he commented on my post about the copyright, and he said, I was having this conversation with some peeps somewhat recently, and I think we'll see labels adding/signing content creators and or reaction channels to their roster to help promote their bands. Some ad agencies are kind of doing this, but I'm talking properly signing and paying creators. This isn't 2007 top 10 breakdown compilations anymore. It's a lot of eyes and ears eager to discover new bands through what you and the rest of the reaction community does. So I hope you get your bag, my dude.
Do you see the risk?
I'd seen that comments. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
The big risk here, which I'm afraid of for the scene and for the content, is if you're rostered onto a label as a reaction creator, good luck being as honest and free. Even if they're like,
totally.
Say whatever you want, we don't mind, we want you to be real, until you're very critical. And they're like, you're no longer on our roster, actually. Like, so that is actually, like, what's really important for the validity of this whole thing, is we talked about this with both of you actually on the podcast. Truth is everything. It's what people want for the audience and the artists and the rest. Like, so if that is an interesting worldview, but there has to be some way to protect the reactor content creators to be honest and critical and not be swayed by, well, they gave me $3,000 in the last year, so like I'd like to like their new artists, like that. I'm worried about the potential influence of that on the validity of the content itself. You can see that as an attempt of the labels to buy the right reaction reviews, which I don't think we want to see.
You do feel that even on a very minuscule level of when bands or labels suggest that they'll whitelist your video, which just means we'll get the ad revenue from the video, which we should, obviously arguably should get in the first place. You still feel that pressure of like, if you don't necessarily like something and you send it to a label to get whitelisted just so you can get the revenue in the first place, like even that pressure of like, oh God, I'm sending them a review of a band that they are tied to that I didn't necessarily love, and they're going to watch it. Even on that level, you do feel it. So I can only imagine if you're tied to a contract, which is a whole different conversation point in its own right. What kind of, again, you're dead right. Like that's a weird area to get into, and it's kind of just like, what's your price point at this? It's like, what would you risk it all for? What's going to let you ride off into the sunset? But I think what makes reaction channels fun is that there is that level of objectivity there where, like, we can just say how we feel about it. It's the less commercialized version of, I guess, the older method of, like, magazines that review music. It just feels a lot more personal. So when you are tied to a label, or when you're tied to a publisher, or whatever it might be, if I know that in my head that someone is tied to it, like, even if they are being as objective as possible, you as a viewer are going to know.
You might not trust it.
Exactly. And
not,
that's
the viewer might not trust it. Even if you are legit, they might be like, but I'm not sure. It's like, I think Nick Nocturnal did the odd reaction to a new artist's song with the artist on the call. It's like, are you really going to be completely honest if that's the case? Like, that's a really hard ask.
Yeah. And the risk that you do face is that, say you do sign X amount on a 1 year deal, and people have that in their mind, and people slowly lose interest in your content because of that. And then, the label drop you after that year. You've gotten your bag for that year, but you've lost the core audience that you've spent X amount of years building.
Might not win them back.
It's just kind of like, it's that trade-off you have to think about. I mean, I feel like that's a very long way down the road. I did see that comment from Johnny on your post, Burb, and it was actually really interesting, to be honest, because it was like, this is such a, unique new world. It's fun to be in this position to kind of navigate it, and it's like we're all working together without actually directly being in contact with each other. Like, you're fighting your own battle, Steve's fighting his own battle, I'm fighting my own battle, and even though we're not, like, directly saying that, oh, Burp, say this to them, we're all kind of like, as one team fighting. It sounds very cringe to say that, to be honest, when I say it out loud. But it's like the industry is moving in a forward motion. But the one thing, just my last point on it, and then you guys can take over. But the one problem that I have with labels is when they reach out to you. And there's very few at this point that I've noticed. It's when they reach out to you and say, hey, Drew, what's going on? Or, hey, Steve, hey, bro, we have this song. We'd love for you to check it out. And then when it comes time to playing ball with the revenue side of things, that's when they're like, oh, sorry, we can't make this happen. Now, I'm not going to name names because I feel like we'll all know who I'm talking about here. But there is one particular label that has been hard to work with. Now, who knows? Time will tell how things change. But, that is just like, that's just all. There's obviously levels where we can take from, even if we can't monetize it, there's going to be new audience that might come in from the, the stature of a band. But when you're going out of your way to understand the value that we might be able to bring, because otherwise, why would you send emails in the first place asking people to check it out? There has to be, some fair game there, where it's like, okay, we understand this value, so we'll allow you to take this. So that's my only real gripe with some of the labels at the moment.
I know who you're talking about, and that's exactly where this whole conversation, where my post started from. But when it comes to, like, the whole honest reactions and working with labels, I posed this question a bunch to, like, guests on my podcast too. And basically what I've changed my channel, and I told you guys too, is that, the whole negative reactions, which I was kind of like known for the first 3 years of my channel, I'm kind of drifting away from that because, especially with working with labels, like, hey, can you remove the revenue even though I think this song is shitty? Like, it seems so weird to do that. So basically, I'm kind of just highlighting the best of the best, and it's because I just don't like promote or pushing out content where it's just like I'm not feeling it and it's not fun and it just kind of negative. Like, I don't really like that kind of content anyway. But say if it's like a massive band like Bring Me the Horizon, they drop a new song and I did not like it at all. What I'm going to do, like, if I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 10, I think this song is really, really bad. I think what I would do is just take the copyright. I'd just be like, here, like, leave the copyright on. But, like, yeah, this song, this is what I think. That only for, like, the big bands that are talking points. But if it's like an underground band that a lot of people may not know or something, if it's like If I Were You or Before I Turn, like these smaller metalcore bands, I'm like, I'm not going to just be like, hey, here, like, can you take off the copyright? By the way, I think this song is really bad. But, like, so there is, again, nuance is extremely important here. But I have drifted away and trying to be more positive leaning with my reaction videos. But that's just how I'm doing it, because I've been doing this for Well, you've been doing it longer, Drew, right? I think, but like at 5 years coming up
in the
very
metal
soon for
space.
me.
You've been around longer than me, but I've been doing reaction style content for like 6 years at this point.
Damn,
But probably
dude,
metal.
damn.
Like I think my first ever metal reaction was like Die Hard is Murder. One of those songs. Holy War was actually the first metal feature on the channel, I think, and we're talking like 4.5, maybe 5 years ago. I don't need it was a long time ago anyway. Like it's a different me altogether now. But yeah, no, I agree with, like, I think we all have the same opinions on it. Again, I know it's again, it's the whole noise and negativity. Like, I don't like to, if we can all win, I'm happy, you know what I mean? Like, if we can work with these labels and, you know, you scratch my back, you know, it's one of those. It's just like, we can all benefit from this. A label is not going to, like, with all, like, these labels are not going to miss out on the AdSense that I earn from a video that gets like 10 to 20,000 views, you know? Like, we're talking peanuts to these labels, you know? So it's kind of like, that rubs it in a little bit more when you're like, you know, for the couple hundred or even thousand people that might find this band because of the audience that I've built from years of doing these styles of videos, to not even be able to make 15 to 20 quid off of one video, you know, it's kind of like, that's when you look at it and, you know, you may argue, well, if it's only 15, 20 quid, why let it go? But over a year or so, that like is nice to just be able to say, well, look, at least I can buy a new camera at the end of the year because of the hard work that I've put in, you know? So I understand both sides, because copyright is obviously there for a reason, you know, it just is. But there is, you know, there's arguments, and to be honest, the devil's advocate, there's so many reaction channels, it's such a low barrier to entry. So how do they decipher who is actually worthy of being whitelisted, you know? Because you could have some person who started their channel yesterday who has like their iPhone set up, it has the worst quality ever, and it's actually just taking away from the music because everything sounds terrible. So if anything, that's like negatively impacting the actual band. So where does the line get drawn?
200,000 subs and like, oh yeah, we'll pay you to react to our stuff, but most of their stuff is in pop and funk. So when they react to this new song by Slipknot, actually gets 100 views because no one, like the algorithm's like, I don't know, you don't have the audience for this.
For sure.
How you factor that in and understand what is, you know, maybe it's more valuable having, you know, someone with 20,000 subs who actually, when they do new Slipknot songs, it bangs, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
For
it's
sure.
funny what you said about the smaller YouTubers, because that's exactly what happened to me. There was one smaller YouTuber that reached out to me because they liked my content, and then, you know, we started talking and then asking for like, oh, how do you get around copyright? I'm like, oh, well, I have relationships with some labels, you know, and sometimes I just take the copyright, like, oh, do you have a relationship with this label? And I'm just like I do, but like I don't.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't really give that out to you because you're just so brand new in the reaction scene. You kind of you kind of have to work your way up a little bit.
Yeah, but anyone worth their salary in one of these labels will be able to, they'll probably have a list of people that, you know, they'll be aware of. If they're going out of their way to email people, they're going to have their people chosen. So it's at their own discretion to choose who they're allowing. Obviously, it is an awkward situation for us sometimes if people who maybe haven't been around for long enough or haven't built up their own following where it would be worth a label even working with. You know, that's when it would be at the label's discretion to just say no. But it can be an awkward situation for us if someone comes to us who may be really generous towards our channel or something along those lines, and they're asking for certain contacts. But I guess that's just, you know, the whole saying no thing. I know you've touched on that, Burb, in your in one of your recent videos. You know, the power of saying no is just like, sometimes you just have to swallow it and just say, you know what, like, I can't give you this. I'm sorry, bro. Like, I'd love to be nice and be the nice guy, but I'm not going to give you this information.
Even if
because
it was a channel that was really well established with like 1 million subs and they come to you asking for your personal contact you developed, you don't have to give that to that person. That is your own, you know, there's a risk to that as well. They might take that, burn that bridge for you in future because of how this person that you've essentially accidentally vouched for has been really difficult, and then your contact goes, you know what, you're giving out my details, I'm not working with you anymore. So you have no requirement to do that for anyone.
For sure.
All of your channels kind of not relevant.
Yeah, that's just etiquette in general, business etiquette, I guess, in the corporate world, is to just like not give out someone's email. You know, if someone is looking for something, I'll ask this person first, is it okay to give you this? They're this person. And then if they say yes, then of course send it over. But yeah, it is. It's a fun world to be at the very, like, the, what's the word I'm looking for? The pin of the needle or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's fun to be in this position, but it's also a lot of work to try get certain things over the line.
I think back to when I recorded myself listening to Circle With Me by Spirit Box. I'm like, this is fucking fun. I'm enjoying listening to this and reacting to it and sharing my thoughts on it and putting some things out and just uploading that to YouTube. It's just simply a recording and a video uploaded. And then it becomes this whole different thing down the line the more you do it. We're talking on levels that like I can't believe we're even having this discussion and it's relevant to us. So we're like our value in labels and promotion of bands. Like that is so far removed from how you start, but that's how anything of interest you do for a long time and you improve on becomes.
We created our own niche. We created a job in a way. And it, like for the listeners, like copyright might be a little bit like we might be talking about it for a little bit too long, so we can move on to the next.
No one's listening to this.
I know, right? Because like this is such a we need to vent about this because only us understands this job. No one else does. Like it's funny because I try to talk to my dad about this stuff, and he's just like he's listening. He's like, okay, you do that, right? But he doesn't really exactly understand it, right?
Yeah, no.
My wife, I'll every day, she's like, "That's enough YouTube chat. We're done. Enough, please. I can't."
Yeah. Well, no, look,
who knows? Maybe our listeners, maybe the listeners are thinking the same thing too. So maybe let's move on to the next point if you guys are down for the Invent Anime.
Maybe a final thing.
Yes.
It's 5 past 11 p.m. here in the UK in Dublin.
Yes.
I'm gonna let you guys talk because I want some water.
Sure, go for it. Go first.
Last couple of topics before we go. There's a big thing that happened with Bring Me the Horizon. We can talk about that. There's an upcoming tour they're doing, and Drew and I will be going to see them in different venues, as I understand it. And then maybe we round off with like, who's a new band that you've checked out recently? You think people should go and enjoy. So
sounds good.
Jordan Fish left Bring Me the Horizon. It's a couple of weeks since that's happened, I think, which is big news. He's a big influential part of their songwriting and a big reason, I think, that why they had the massive success they did with Sempiternal is the introduction of his electronic and keyboard work, and then he's been this massive producer ever since. So that's big news. But we liked their new song. Whether he had a hand in that or not, unclear. But they're about to do a massive tour. They're currently doing it actually with Bad Omens and Static Dress and Cassiette. And I'll be seeing them at the O2 in London. Drew, you're seeing them in Dublin, I'm assuming?
See them in Dublin on the 23rd, which is next Wednesday. And then I'm flying out to Brazil straight after that. So that's going to be a fun one. But so it's going to be a fun week. But I'm looking forward to that show, man. I've not seen Bring Me live yet. And I seen a sneak clip. Well, not a sneak clip. It was literally posted everywhere. But Noah Sebastian performing Antivist with Ollie Sykes on stage, which is going to be so sick. Like, there's always been those talks of those guys getting together and actually doing a track, but I think I like the idea of just seeing them perform together more than an actual track together. So that's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to that. And bringing my girlfriend, so not a metalhead by any stretch, and that's going to be hilarious to see because I checked the track list and there's some heavy tracks from their discography on that, heavier than I thought. So it's going to be hilarious to see what she thinks.
It's not going to matter. Even if it's super heavy, you're not into the heavy, it'll be a fascinating experience to watch a heavy band play some heavy stuff. And it's going to be for a song, and then they'll play maybe something I like. That might help them be more interested in metal, being like, oh, okay, they're just human beings doing this. It's actually not
and the production as well. Look, like the production looks mental on the show so far. So like I've seen some clips of the actual production behind it, and it looks fantastic. So it's going to be great. Like it's one of those things. I feel like as a completely objective, you just have to agree that it's going to be a fantastic show. Like even if she doesn't like the music, she'll still enjoy it. You know.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
It looks like the production they had and built for Download Festival last year, which, if it is the case, that's the greatest festival performance I have ever seen, and I've seen thousands of festival performances. Like it's next level, honestly.
I remember you saying that in your download video. I was more excited to see them at that point after hearing that. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
No, I'm jazzed, and I've seen them several times, and I'm still excited to check.
But I'm also excited to see.
It's good.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say their shows are always like amazing. Bring the Horizon always puts on like some of the best metal shows that you can watch. Their music is so versatile, right? But the whole Noah Sebastian thing, it's so cool. It's such an amazing fanfare. Like we've always wanted to see these guys collab, and knowing that Noah's such a big Bring the Horizon fan, it's just so cool to see like two icons in the rock world getting together, collaborating. It just gives like everything like a sense of community. I don't know. There's like instead of like, being competitive in the scene, it feels like it's more collaborative, and Bringing the Horizon is just top of the game when it comes to collaboration. Speaking of which, did you hear the rumor of who Bring the Horizon could be collaborating with on a future track? This is just a rumor.
No. But can I guess? No, I'm not going to guess because it'll be outrageous.
I did hear this.
Yeah, no, this is already outrageous, so go for it, Drew.
I was going to say MGK is a joke, but it was a terrible joke, so let's move on to Steve.
Well, that already happened. I reviewed the song, maybe. Yeah,
MGK, did he do it with, was it Ollie?
It's called Maybe.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I haven't checked that one out. Okay, well, never mind. Ignore me completely then. Move on to Steve. He knows what he's talking about.
The rumor is Billie Eilish, isn't it?
Yep, that's it.
Bro,
if that happens.
Yeah.
If that happens.
Bring Me Sound hasn't been far off some of Billie Eilish's production in a lot of their newer stuff, to be honest. So that makes sense. That world makes sense. That collision makes sense.
Yeah, the song he did, Bring Me the Horizon did with Amy Lee of Evanescence from the Ammo album. I want to say, that's kind of in the wheelhouse of Billie Eilish.
Next, what's it called? Posthuman, yeah. Posthuman.
Oh, that
album.
was the one.
Yeah, that's a fantastic song as well.
Rhymes too, and Nihilist Blues, right? He's already, and then Ed Sheeran, of course, doing the Bad Habits thing. So it's not completely abnormal for them to do something like this.
Youngblood, Baby Metal.
That Youngblood feature is one of my favorite Bring Me tracks.
Oh man,
which one?
Obey with Youngblood.
Obey was
that's
my
such a banger,
most played song of that year, I think.
Really?
I smashed it that year, man. Yeah, I think it might have been Teardrops for me. So that album was just fantastic altogether. But I mean, the Jordan Fish thing that you brought up initially is interesting for sure, because obviously there was a lot of talk about Kool-Aid when that dropped, and that was really fun. Normally I don't look at the credits of songs like is that religiously, but it was so fun to like be on stream and like look through all the credits and be like, was he involved? So yeah, I mean, I did notice on the production end, it did sound different to their other tracks, I will say. Musically, it was fantastic, I thought, but I did notice a difference. I was instantly thinking I could hear something that was different. Maybe the placebo effect was there, and I was thinking that, this sounds slightly different. I can't quite put my finger on what it was, but there was something about it that felt like thinner or something about it. I don't know exactly what it might have been, but I recall on stream, again, I'll have to listen to the track again, but I specifically remember just being like, this already sounds slightly different, but I was very delighted that the actual music of the song was fantastic. I love that song.
Yeah. I couldn't tell the difference in production personally.
Right, okay.
I just thought it was like a punchy track, just like, oh man. So and especially knowing that Jordan is not in the credits for Kool-Aid, I'm just like, damn, like that's what I made in my reaction video. I'm just like, I can't even tell that Jordan's gone. Like I thought this was going to be like such a big thing, and like it is for sure a big thing. It just like sonically, it's just crazy because like it seems like Jordan's still in the band.
Yeah, like I mean that's like the main thing for me was that maybe it was that placebo effect thing where I'm like knowing that he's not involved, and I'm like thinking maybe I'm like overthinking certain things, but the comparison I made was that it felt like the same, because when I heard Werewolf, which was obviously on Lil Uzi's album, the production on that was noticeably slightly different to the singles that Bring Me had been dropping. Again, I can't pinpoint exactly what it was, but it was definitely noticeable for me when I listened to Lil Uzi's album and I heard the Werewolf feature. I was like, this probably has another touch of something somewhere else. And then when I heard the Kool-Aid track, it reminded me a lot of the sound that was created on Werewolf. So I don't know, maybe again, I'm just like thinking too deep into it. But again, as a song, I'm delighted that it was still unbelievable. I really enjoyed the song and I can't wait to hear it live. It still sounded like a Bring Me track, like you guys are saying. But again, maybe I'm just like fine tune picking things apart,
I'm bad when it comes to talking about production personally, so.
Though I hear your point. It's like the range of low to high spectrum frequency was sort of condensed a little bit. It was kind of more radio ready in the production. Yeah, it might be similar to the Werewolf thing. Equally, like Amen wasn't like as huge and massive sonically as some of their other stuff has been. So maybe there's been a change there. I wouldn't be surprised, like if Ollie feels like he's learned as much as he can learn from Jordan. He's like, I can take it from here. Jordan has said in interviews that it's very much Ollie's vision. He tells Jordan what he wants, and Jordan finds a way to realize it. So I'm not, naively, I'm not too worried about their future songs. But time will tell. We'll see.
Time will tell,
Either way, I'll be here for it. I'll be hitting record as I check
Absolutely.
out every single song they come out with.
Yeah, for
And I'll
sure,
be
man.
there fighting with the labels.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to like keep it discreet there, and then we're just I'll be there fighting with the label. But yeah, man. I mean, do we have anything else? I mean, we can
let's
do
send off with like, and you know, this could be on a selfish level. Like, I want to hear some great new bands. Let's each have one recommendation to leave with of a new underknown band that you think we should go and check out.
Sure.
I had one I checked out
I can
recently.
start us off with.
You start us off. I'll look mine up.
Sure. So this is a band that was introduced to me on my stream the other night, and they are a band called Faint Hearted. They have 1,670 monthly listeners, and they have 2 tracks by the looks of things. They look like a relatively young band, and they suggested I check out their track called Ghosts, and I highly recommend you guys check it out if you are interested in that Polaris sound. They have that kind of Polaris feel to them, very fun riffs, but the chorus for me was a selling point, as you guys may or may not know. Massive fan of a big, juicy chorus, as Bring Me the Horizon have many of, which is why I'm such a big fan of them. These guys, fantastic chorus. I won't spoil too much about the track, so just go and check it out. It's Faint Hearted Ghosts, 1,600 monthly listeners, so definitely a very underrated band that could do with some love. So go ahead and check them out. There you go.
Nice.
That's mine.
Mine? Do you want to go, Steve, or?
You go for it.
Well, yeah, we'll let you close it out. But for me, I got a whole different kind of band that I don't know. I need those palate cleansers from metal all the time and chord music. So I heard an indie rock band that just absolutely floored me. The band is called No Kind of Rider, and their music video only has like 29,000 views on it, but it's like one of the best songs I heard last year. I actually made a video for it saying my favorite non-metal discovery of 2023. But yeah, they have one. Yeah, and like just a really chill song, great vocals. It's a very simplistic song with a lot of nuance in terms of the drumming and instrumentation. They're just solid musicians, just a great vibe.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is the track called Autumn, Burb? Is that the name of the track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that song.
I heard that track. Yeah, man, it's sick. It's really, really good. Very
yeah,
good.
and I put it on my Come Metal playlist, which everyone should.
Still
It's definitely
that drum.
Yeah. It definitely falls into that category. I can confirm that one for sure. Great song. I like it.
You may,
Steve.
I mean, you guys might know this band.
Go for it.
I'd never heard of them before. Someone recommended this. I checked them out. They're called Seeing Things. You heard of Seeing Things?
Yeah, the
Seeing
EDM metalcore band, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to describe it. I checked out a song of theirs called Shapeshifter. And it started out as like, okay, I know what this is. I know where this is going. It's, you know, a heavy breakdowny, metalcore-y, lots of scream stuff. But actually, it was really creative and interesting. And you mentioned the EDM, like the electronic stuff they were pulling into that. Some of the rhythmic patterns they were doing, it was quite sophisticated. And it as it went on, I found it got more and more interesting. So they've got 35,000 monthly listeners. I don't yet have a sense of how many is a lot or a little in terms of monthly listeners. That sounds like a lot to me, but I'd never heard of them before, so they're very interesting, I think.
That would be relatively unknown, I would like to say. I would say that's pretty unknown in the grand scheme of things. They've obviously got like a niche following there, but they are very unknown. Like Sleep Token, for example, using that like 3+ million. So, you know, there's total levels, you know. But no, I mean, that's just like a really good like example. I guess, well, not good, but Polaris like around 1 million or something. So 35,000 is pretty fucking small, you know.
Yeah, they give me like old Northlane vibes. Seeing Things. They have one song called
Good
Switchblade.
shout, yeah,
that's pretty good. They got a good
I haven't heard them.
fusion of EDM and metalcore.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, great. New music to check out.
There you go.
Thanks for the chat, lads.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure. A little bit of a pilot episode, I think. Should we pose the audience the question? Should we pose a question? If Burp, do you want to have something out of there?
No, take it away, Drew.
Sorry. I just want to suggest, we don't really have a plan for this as of right now, but I think it would be a cool idea, and the lads can tell me to shut up right now if this is not something we should do, but I would like to see, because we haven't decided a name for the podcast yet, right? Again, pilot episode, we'll see what the people think. But if you guys want to suggest some names that would be cool for the podcast, you know, like some kind of like catchy name that rolls off the tongue, maybe something that, you know, isn't used by another social media platform where we can get all the usernames let us know in the comments. That would be great, because we're open for suggestions or even some inspiration, because we're not that great at picking names by the sound of things, especially me. You guys know how bad I am at picking stuff out. So if anyone in the comments would like to suggest something, if you've watched this far, we'll know at least that you guys watched this far. So let us know, and you could be the deciding factor on what we name the podcast going forward. So that could be cool.
We'll upload this on this chum channel and call it like Name TBC.
Oh, yeah, I forgot we have to do that. Fuck yeah. How are we going to work that? Yeah, named, but you can change your name on YouTube. So we could
maybe like share an unlisted video of this to like our Patreon communities.
Yeah.
And they
or
they
just
can
name the
feed to
channel.
us.
Give us a name. That could work.
Yeah, I'll just change it later.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting the audience to give us some cool names. I definitely like that idea. But I'll tell you guys in the WhatsApp what I think we should do with this video, because I think it should be public. I love the discussions that we had here.
Yeah, I think that was fun. I think, how long did we go? You know, it's a good chat when I have no idea what time it is or how long we ran for.
You can see it on the screen there, hour and a half.
That's perfect.
I'm blind. That sounds good. An hour and a half is cool. And there's probably some parts that we can probably like give the snip as well, you know. So.
Well, there'll be a snip in the middle where like you go to the toilet and Burb's talking.
No, that didn't happen. What are you talking about, Steve? That didn't happen.
And this will be clipped out as well, because this is strange and pointless. Well, thanks, lads. Appreciate that. I mean, we can chat again in a moment. I'm trying to do like a sort of ending.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Let's see what happens in future with a as yet to be named new discussion show between us. Thanks, folks.